Why data alone was never enough. Imagine this, a machine that can learn without being shown examples. An artificial mind that doesn't need to see a million cats before it recognizes one. It simply understands the idea of a cat because it has learned how to learn. For decades, that idea belonged to science fiction. Every form of artificial intelligence we built relied on one thing: data. Massive data. Images, words, numbers, sounds, millions upon millions of samples. The more data, the smarter the system, or so we thought. But here's the hidden flaw. Data doesn't equal understanding. A model trained on every photo of the ocean still doesn't know what water feels like. It doesn't understand why waves break or how they sound when they crash. It just learns statistical patterns, not meaning. And that's where a quiet revolution began to take shape. Somewhere deep inside the labs at MIT, Google DeepMind, and the Max Planck Institute, researchers started asking a question that sounded almost heretical in the world of machine learning. What if AI could think without being told what to think about? This question would give birth to a concept known today as zero-shot learning, a framework that allows AI systems to make sense of things they've never seen before. The limits of pattern imitation. I understand why this matters. Let's rewind to the early 2010s, the golden age of deep learning. Neural networks were exploding in popularity. Every breakthrough from face recognition to self-driving cars came from one formula: feed the network enormous amounts of labeled data, and let it find patterns inside that chaos. It worked beautifully, until it didn't. Because when researchers started testing these models in unfamiliar conditions, different lighting, unseen accents, unexpected inputs, they began to fail spectacularly. The AI wasn't actually understanding the world. It was just memorizing what it had been fed. This is the parrot problem of modern AI. Give a parrot enough recordings of human speech, and it will sound intelligent. But does it understand language? Of course not. Similarly, when GPT-DALL-E or image classifiers appear intelligent, they're mostly echoing correlations. They know how things tend to go together, but not why they do. And that gap between recognition and reasoning is what scientists are now trying to close. Learning like a child, the inspiration for learning without data didn't come from machines, it came from humans. Think about how a child learns a new concept. You don't show them 10,000 examples of chairs. You show them a few, maybe just one, and they start to infer what makes a chair a chair. They understand that it's something you can sit on. It usually has legs, but it can look completely different each time. Children don't memorize, they generalize. And that single ability, to extract essence from experience, is what makes human intelligence so adaptable. Researchers began to wonder, could we give machines that same power? Could we teach an algorithm to see structure, not just data? That was the seed of zero-shot learning, a field that tries to make machines learn conceptual relationships so that they can deal with entirely new situations. A quiet revolution. From labels to logic in traditional AI, everything revolves around labels. You feed the system thousands of labeled examples. This is a dog, this is a cat. But the world isn't labeled. Reality is messy, ambiguous, ever-changing. So in zero-shot learning, instead of giving examples, we give the AI descriptions and relationships. For instance, a zebra is like a horse, but with stripes. Suddenly, the machine doesn't need zebra pictures. It can infer what a zebra must look like based on its understanding of horse and stripes. It's reasoning by analogy, the same way humans use metaphor and comparison to understand new ideas. Shift is enormous, because it changes AI from a data consumer into a conceptual thinker. As MIT researcher Yilun Du once described it, we are teaching models not what to know, but how to know. The turning point when machines started to first real breakthrough came from a series of experiments at the University of Toronto and later refined by Google Research. They found that models could actually connect knowledge from one domain to another. For example, recognizing that an apple and a strawberry are both red fruits, even if they'd never seen a strawberry before. That might sound trivial, but in computational terms it's revolutionary. It means the model isn't just matching pixels. It's forming semantic associations, understanding meaning. From there, the field exploded. New models like Clip from OpenAI began learning by reading descriptions of images, not just the images themselves. This made them capable of identifying completely new categories, because they understood language as context. For the first time, AI systems began to behave a bit like us. They could take limited knowledge and extend it logically. The human analogy, human intelligence, evolved to deal with uncertainty. We rarely have perfect data, we reason from partial clues, intuition, and abstraction. Zero-shot AI mirrors that. It operates in a gray zone between logic and imagination where concepts blend and meaning emerges. This is what the late cognitive scientist Douglas Hofstadter called the strange loop of self-understanding, a feedback system that can look at its own reasoning and generalize outward. That's what modern AI is slowly, awkwardly, beginning to do. When machines start asking questions, here's where it gets truly fascinating. Once an AI model starts forming internal representations, its own mental concepts, it can begin to ask questions about its own knowledge. For instance, a system might realize it knows what animals are, but lacks information about insects. It can then request that data, or even generate synthetic examples to fill the gap. That's not just pattern recognition anymore, that's thinking about thinking. We are witnessing the early stages of artificial curiosity, systems that don't just absorb data, but actively seek it. The irony of this: ironically, by training AI to learn from less, we're teaching it to learn more like us. Humans evolved under constraints, limited perception, limited memory, limited time. Those limits forced our brains to become efficient, to infer, imagine, and abstract. Now, AI is rediscovering those same principles, not because we programmed it to, but because the mathematics of intelligence seem to demand them, as if the path to true artificial understanding was never about building bigger datasets, but about teaching machines to live with uncertainty and still find meaning. When we say a machine learns, what does that actually mean? It doesn't dream, it doesn't forget, and it doesn't imagine. At least not in the way humans do. And yet, something remarkable is happening. For the first time in history, algorithms are learning how to generalize, to apply knowledge beyond what they were taught. From memorization to meaning. Traditional deep learning works like this. You give a neural network an enormous data set, say, millions of pictures of dogs. It looks at all those pixels, finds patterns, and eventually can tell whether a new image looks statistically similar to what it has seen before. That's recognition, not understanding. But zero-shot systems turn this process inside out. Instead of memorizing examples, they learn relationships between concepts. They form a kind of mental map, a structure of associations. For instance, if a model knows what a horse is and what stripes are, it can infer what a zebra might look like, not because it has seen one, but because it can combine those ideas logically. This is not imagination in the human sense, but it's the first sign of conceptual reasoning in machines, the architecture of understanding. So, how does this work technically? It starts with something called an embedding space. Imagine a vast 3D space where every idea, every word, image, or sound is represented as a point. If two ideas are similar, their points are close together. If they're unrelated, they're far apart. This is the semantic landscape where meaning lives. AI systems like Clip Contrastive Language Image Pre-trained created by OpenAI train both images and text together in that shared space. They learn that cat and whiskers and purr often appear together, while dog and bark and tail cluster nearby, forming neighborhoods of meaning. Now, when the system encounters something new, say, tiger, it doesn't panic. It navigates the space, searching for familiar regions. Cat, stripes, jungle. And from that relational geometry, it can infer. A tiger is likely a large striped cat found in the wild. It didn't memorize this, it derived it. The logic emerged from the shape of meaning itself. The MIT connection, machines that inferred MIT's computer science and artificial intelligence labs. A team of researchers led by Joshua Tenenbaum and Yilun Du built models that can infer entire categories from a handful of clues. Their goal was not to make AI faster, but smarter in the human way. They studied how children learn new concepts with minimal examples and tried to replicate that with Bayesian reasoning and structured abstraction. The result was a series of algorithms that could perform few-shot and zero-shot learning, inferring rules from patterns instead of rote memorization. One experiment showed a machine several simple geometric shapes, circles, triangles, squares, and then introduced a new symbol. Without prior data, the model could predict the relationships between the new shape and the old ones. It understood the concept of shape, not just the picture of it. The birth of cognitive AI, this new generation of AI models, doesn't just store knowledge, it builds mental models of the world.